So in a previous section, you learned about the keyword abstract and how we can create abstract classes and methods which don't have any viable um, implementation, right? An abstract class is really just designed to either be a base class that needs to be kind of fleshed out in the derived class, or in the case of a derived class, we can't create an actual object. We can't instantiate anything. In this video, I want to talk about the virtual keyword, which is very similar to abstract. When a lot of students read about virtual for the first time, they kind of think, well, wait a minute, isn't that abstract? So abstract, we know that it's no implementation and no instances of objects. So a virtual method has some functionality, but when you set up a method in the base class, you may not be able to be as specific as you need to be in your derived classes. So we declare methods to be virtual to tell the derived classes that they can be overridden. Whereas with an abstract class, we must override, since there is no original base implementation. So the base classes can be good enough, but you're basically saying, look, if it's not good enough, go ahead and override and provide your own functionality. So let's look at an example using our inheritance program of how to implement the virtual keyword. So here we are in our employee base class with our abstract method run payroll. If we would change this to a virtual method, we could then provide a basic implementation for our base class. Sometimes this is the appropriate course of action. But like in the previous example with abstract methods, we often need our implementations in the base class to be very specific, and so that's not always possible. So once this method is declared virtual, we can have an implementation in the base class that is then overridden by the derived classes. Now they don't have to. So if I were to remove the run payroll implementation from the part-time class, the project would still build. So I could come into my build menu and build the solution and see that it succeeded. Since if no implementation exists at the derived class level, it's going to choose to run the base class. So we can see this when we run our application. So we can see John Smith is full-time, and we can see that the run payroll method for our full-time employee is being run. So we see this employee's salary is $50,000. Except when we get to the part-time, we can see that the base class payroll method is the one that is run, since there's no longer any implementation in the derived class. So with virtual, you have the option to override, with a base class being able to provide some kind of functionality. But when you want something more specific, you override it in the derived class. Whereas with the abstract, you have to override since the base class provided no initial implementation. So I hope that helps you understand the difference between virtual and abstract.